Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's check out control using the DirectX 12 and RTX. Okay, so unfortunately the controller mapping on this game is completely terrible, and I can't find a way to change it so that typical things that would be normal for any other developer in the world besides Remedy would be the ability to use the trigger buttons, either LR or L1 R1 or L2 R2, to move about the menus. However, in the case of Remedy, they are only considering the keyboard for their control schemes and their labeling. So, in order for you to move across the menus in your options, you actually have to push the back button, or the select button, or the select button, depending on what controller you're using. So, here I am pushing select, and that actually moves me to other options. You can see I've changed my controller button prompts to look like the PlayStation. Excuse me. And we are turning on DLSS. Cranking all the detail up as high as we can. We are turning off film grain and motion blurs. The reset, or the ray tracing, is set to high on default. I've checked all the boxes here. We'll see how it runs. It is technically running at a lower resolution. We're going to output at 1440p, but the native resolution will be a 960p. And start as escape, because, like I said, Remedy apparently have never heard of or used a controller before. Yeah, let's do it. I don't care. Even though this game actually works really, really well with a controller.
Fair warning. This is gonna be weirder than usual. Can't be helped. You called me. So here I am.
Okay.
I know I shut you out sometimes. I'm always glad to hear from you. It's just that I get my hopes up.
That's some crappy artifacting.
So many times it's led to nothing. I found nothing. It's like we live in a room and there's a poster on the wall. We stare at it and we think that's the whole world. The room and the poster. The picture's something nice. A landscape, a famous person. Like in that movie, what is it called? The prison movie.
I'm the writer of the script, but
The room's a cell, and the picture, it's different.
I couldn't look
for
that up.
each of us. It can be beautiful
after we sent the script to the
or terrible,
actors.
but we're all transfixed. But it's all a lie. Something to distract us from the truth. They're lying to us. We're lying to ourselves. The room's not the world. The world is much bigger and much stranger. There's a hole hidden behind that poster that leads to the real world. We all feel safe in that room. But sometimes something crawls out from behind the poster. And the ones that see it happen freak out and try to forget what they saw.
Yeah, some artifacting around the edges. Not bad though. Again, considering the native resolution.
Here? Hello?
I feel that this is like
Anyone here?
ooh, whoa, that is super sensitive. My goodness. Okay. Horizontal can be less hoary, please. Of course, these are arbitrary numbers. I have no idea what how it's going to behave until I start using it. Wow, that is like super sensitive. My goodness. Or the game is just running incredibly fast. I really doubt that, though. Right? Do I have to hit apply or something? See, here's how crappy this is. So, I actually can't use the D-pad to move this selection up and down. This is how incompetent this development team is. So not only can I not use the shoulder buttons, either shoulder buttons, to move across these menus, I have to hit the select button, which means I can only go in one direction. But it doesn't wrap around, so in order for me to reach the bottom, I actually have to hold down and go to the bottom. And for me to reach the top, I can't just push down and it go automatically to the top. I actually have to push up all the way through and get all the way up to the top. It's genius. It's like people who made a game who have never ever played one before. Oh boy, the sensitivity didn't seem to do anything. Didn't actually seem to change. I just have to get used to the most touchy control scheme. Oh, Jesus. Wow, this is going to suck. Seriously? You guys are freaking stupid as fuck. How could you make it like this? Okay, so we'll change our controller sensitivity down to like 5%. How about that? Think that can be... normally that wouldn't even be something playable. But this is Remedy. Oh yeah, it doesn't affect the control scheme at all. I don't think the numbers mean anything. Oh, what a piece of crap. It's so sad, it's funny. None of the button prompts are for the controller. How did I select that then? There's no F button on my controller. Oh yeah, well, A is jump apparently. Or a circle is jump. I got that covered. Oh, and I have to hold it down too. Wonderful. Oh, what the hell is wrong with this game? What's the F button map to? Okay, use. So, yes. Why didn't that work then? Okay, whatever, game. Piece of crap. The controller just doesn't work. Yeah. Yeah. So the sensitivity doesn't work. The button mapping doesn't work. The buttons themselves don't work. I basically have the control sticks work. The left, but it seems like the left trigger works. Nothing else works. Oh, the jump button works. Sorry. So of my 12 buttons to work. Hold shift. Yes. Yes. Let me hold shift on my controller. Since you weren't
Bureau of Control.
since you weren't competent enough
All
to,
these years
you
I've been
know,
looking for them, and they were hiding in
replace
plain
button prompts
sight.
with keyboard prompts. Heaven forbid a game released in 2019 be developed without competently enabled controller inputs. Let's just back to like 1990. It runs all right. It's not perfect. I would have thought that this would be a lock 60 hertz, considering we're at such a low resolution, low native resolution. We're running in full screen mode under DirectX 12. But as far as like the RTX implementation is concerned, I think this one's a really difficult one because the non-RTX lighting in this engine is actually pretty good. So it's a little harder to tell when you have these real light sources and real light reflections,
Hello?
or just things that are more natively sourced. God, it really doesn't scroll very good, does it? Yeah, it's kind of rough when it scrolls horizontally.
Hey, excuse me?
There you are.
Yeah, there's some shimmering in the background, huh?
Janitor's assistant. You need to go to the interview. Go that way to the elevator.
Thanks. Elevator that way. Got it.
Very good. I'm Ahti, the janitor, by the way. You work for me. You can say I sent you. If they don't hire you, you are relevant. There be work for the axe. Take them behind the sauna, you out.
I've done enough night shift loner jobs to know it makes us come off weird. Ahti the janitor is a friendly face in my book.
Better than somebody with no face at all. Think about it. No face.
But that said, I know what you're thinking. If there's an axe murderer around, that's him.
Yeah, it's kind of different diffused lighting there. Interesting look. Sort of looks like if you have like if you're filming with like a cheap camera. It's kind of the way the game looks.
This seal. I saw it a long time ago. I keep seeing it in my dreams.
But it's very much on purpose, you know. It's like I mean, it's not like a porno grade camera. It's a little bit better than that, but it's certainly not like a motion picture grade camera. You know, it's sort of like a cable TV look to it, I guess. It might be on purpose because they tend to like their serials over at Remedy. tell you, it's hard to get used to this control. It's hard to get used to getting, start getting used to these like super sensitive sticks. I don't know if I can play the whole game like this. Not to mention the shitty controller mappings. I mean, this is just like this is like the controller mappings that existed in like '87. It was just like half implemented because developers never felt like players would use a controller to control games, which was, that was true in the '80s and the '90s. But as soon as Microsoft started giving us, direct input and making it the controller drivers, much more standard, and as people got more used to controller implementations, then this became a bit of a fallacy.
The cell and the poster. I was 11 years old the first time I saw behind the poster. They told me I imagined it. I've been trying to pull it down ever since. Will you help?
Courtney Hope. I think she did a really good job with this. Kind of a thankless role. I hope she gets other opportunities outside of the game. Unfortunately, she's kind of stuck in a crappy game. You can tell, like, the, Remedy's writers, they are, like, they're part of the Wachowski school of thought, and that it's a lot of gibberish writing. Kind of pulled together in some sort of incomprehensible way. And, in their mind, it's like, artistic and meaningful, but in our minds, it's sloppy. Incomprehensible.
Did I lose you there for a moment? You know what's on my mind. My baby brother, Dylan. 17 years since the men of this bureau took him.
Basically, if you're the kind of person that liked the second and third Matrix movies, like you felt that the story was like really deep and meaningful, and that's what the folks at Remedy are like. They're like writing just complete gibberish, and trying to have your prose sound more intelligent than it actually is. That's kind of what we have here. And so while there's a lot going on, none of it is explained in a logical or pleasant way. It's sort of this haughty script designed to really just please the writer, so he can pat himself on the back for creating something which is incomprehensible and not particularly good. I'm honestly surprised he allowed himself to use the word shit.
Pick it up? The murder weapon? Really?
I get the impression that word was like too good for him.
You're a mistake.
He just sort of forced himself to put the commoner's words into his masterpiece of a script.
And there goes the poster.
Objects of power can cause or be results of AWE's altered world events, intrusions upon the perceived reality. Now, The service weapon is, of course, a prime example of an OOP, a very powerful one. Ingrained in the Bureau's DNA, a key component in our prime candidate program. Come out of that Russian roulette a winner and you're it.
I think this is, it's sort of indicative too of the,
Look at this place. Where am I?
of like the video game review industry, because Remedy actually has a fairly close relation with a lot of writers from video game reviews. They hire a lot of writers and journalists from gamer sites, and so you get this like really rosy review of a Remedy game, and you go home and you play it, and you're like, well, this really is not that good. The writing feels amateurish, like from like a first or second year college student out to try to impress the professor about how talented they are, and it's like, well, why did it receive such praise? It's just okay, it's not bad, and I don't want to make it seem like this game is like a bad game, because it certainly is not. But it is also not a game of the year, or a revolutionary game, or a game that somehow manages to touch you in a significant way, or with real creative characters or anything like that. I mean, it's none of that. So then what is it exactly? Well, yeah, like I said, I can't even okay, what is V? What stupid ass button did they use to bind it to? V triangle. Okay. Triangle is my action button. Sure. Why not? Why wouldn't it be? Oh, hey, look, it doesn't work. Pressing triangle. My jump button works. Boy, I was really hoping to give this game a second chance. I thought maybe that it would be a little bit more fun to play with the controller, and then also have the RTX effects on as well. And then use DLSS, kind of have the whole gamut of effects on. I think what we can do instead is we can look at the quality of the rendering, even at the lower base resolution. I think the only thing I'm really disappointed on is the frame rate isn't really locked down. But I think overall, like the way that the reflections work and the lights work, that's actually pretty impressive. It does have a different look than the native render. So if I were to turn off all the stuff and then render natively in 1440p, leave the effects on, I think that game, or this game, can still achieve 60 frames at 1440p, at least on the RTX 2080 with an i7 like I have. And still have a fair amount of muscle to go, left over. So if you're running something in the operating system, or if you like have chat clients or something like that open, I think you can still run it comfortably. I think it becomes a little bit more tricky once you start getting into full native 4K, but certainly possible if you start paring down, things like the particles. If you kind of pare those down, then you can run it pretty well at 4K. It's a nice option for those who have the RTX and the ability to turn on these effects. Again, I think while it's not perfect, there is some shimmering here and there that you would not get if you were running native resolution. You are getting some additional different effects, which I think is cool. Is it something that I would go really crazy over? Well, no, not really. I don't really feel that these are mind-blowing, game-changing effects. Even though on a technical level they are, there's actually a lot going on, calculating the lights and the reflections and all that fun stuff like that. but I certainly wouldn't purchase this game just for that reason. There are much better games to purchase, games that actually work. This game doesn't even work. The buttons don't work because it's... I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't normally run into games like this where they just flat out don't work. But it is what it is. This is Autopostrophe, and you've been watching Control on PC. We're turning on the RTX in this. I'd say the RTX technology is pretty impressive, and the DLSS, which allows for the upscaling of lower base images into resolution that you choose, whether it be 2K, 4K, whatever. I think that's actually pretty impressive. I think the image quality is still really good. Some artifacts here and there that you wouldn't notice in native resolution, but if you're looking for a slightly better performance, or you want to maybe squeeze more effects into the game, then you can certainly do that with DLSS, and I think it's pretty cool. As far as the game of Control itself, well, for a game that's called Control, they surprisingly did not allow you to do much with the controls themselves. So if you're on PC, it looks like you're pretty much stuck with mouse and keyboard. There is controller support, but it's shoddy and looks like it's wholly incomplete. The buttons don't work. The control sticks, the sensitivity doesn't work. None of these sliders work at all. The menus are only designed for a mouse and keyboard, so there's a lot of things wrong, unfortunately, as far as getting the most out of what you can get from this game. That's a real shame. I'm really surprised at how terrible this is. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.